Okay, our education system that takes us through almost 20 years of education does not touch on what do you do with your money after you earn it. Okay, so we go to school, and even in the homes, we are told you need to save this, you need to earn money, you need to figure out how to start a biashara, you know, how to start a small business. But there are no deliberate conversation about when you earn this money, what then does it do for you? What should it do for you? And in fact, how long should it last for? I usually start the conversation with those who I coach about money with asking them, how many years have you been in employment? Or how many years have you had a business for? And if you could estimate how much you've made or earned in those years, do you have that money now? Can you see it? Can you feel it? Is it something that is continuously giving to you? So assume you make 50,000 shillings a month from employment or from a business. Times 12, that is 600,000 shillings a year. And you do that for 5 years, or even 3 years, even 2 years. I come to you and ask you, where is your 600K? Even if you don't have the breakdown of the full 600K, I would ask you, show me, not tell me, show me where 300K of the 600K is. Show me or take me to where I can see or I can understand a portion of that money that you earned in the last 2 years, in the last 5 years, in the last 10 years, still is there for you today. That's the part that we are not taught at school. And because of this, we get sometimes very good jobs, paying so much money, and then we are laid off for whatever reasons. Maybe we just had a contract job that was coming to an end anyway, or we have, you know, encountered a year like this COVID year, which is extremely tough for businesses and employers who've had to let us go, you know, some of us go. And we look back and tell ourselves, I earned all this much all those years, where has it gone? I don't know when the next job is going to come through, when my business is going to get out of this deep. What will I do? Okay, so these are conversations that are real and that must be held, and that you must hold the conversations, have the conversations with the right people. So what I want to do today is to take you through a session that is going to steer your mind on matters money, and money today, money tomorrow, sometimes even depending on how much you have earned it, money yesterday. Okay, so where did the money go to that I earned yesterday? What am I earning, or what is my potential for earning today? Is it at the optimum? Should I do something about it? And what does my earning look like tomorrow? And how will tomorrow look because I earned today? This is the conversation we will have. I will initiate this with an interactive question that you can chat the answer on the chat box. And the question, let me just put up the question, the slides. Just a minute. So I forgot to mention that the program or the platform upon which I have this conversation about money is simply called Let's Talk Money. Okay, so you can find conversations about money that I have held or thoughts that I have posted online. I have a Facebook page, Let's Talk Money Honey, and my email is there just in case you need to interact with me, but you'll see this at the very end as well, so don't worry about that. The reason I talk to large groups, young and old, young, old, and kind of old, is because it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a team to build a dream, but it has now been proven that it takes a community to foster financial literacy. So what does this mean? If you learn on your own, whatever you learn today, and you keep that to yourself, there's going to be an issue because you cannot prosper in a vacuum. You cannot prosper where your siblings are not, where your neighbors are not, where your friends are not, where your wife and children are not, okay? So you would need to have information coming through to you, but also share it out. With matters financial literacy, we do not encourage you to keep information to yourself, because the earnings and the vibrance of the economy or the market, or even the knowledge sharing between you and the next person, is actually what gets you to continuously ask yourself, is everything I'm doing okay? Or is there anything out there that I should be doing? Okay. So moving on to the next slide, and this is where I will be looking at your responses. The first question I want to pose here is, write down what this COVID-19 pandemic season has taught you about money. What are the lessons you have learned in the last 9 months or so about money, whether it's about your money, your ability to earn, actually even to learn, whether it is about your neighbor's money, your parents' money, your siblings' money, your wife's money, your family income. What have you seen? What is happening out there? What's favorable, what is not? I'd like to see your responses on the chat so that we can pick up on that as key pointers as we go on with this discussion. So I'll just give about 2 minutes for you to type on the chat function. What is it you have learned or experienced or heard is happening on matters money? And what have you learned about that? Or what is it you've had? Just simply, what have you heard about money in this COVID season? Savings are vital. Money is easy to come. I'll just read out as they come through. The importance of savings. Again, savings. I need to invest the small amount I have. Emergency funds are key. Excellent. That is I think everybody has learned that really. Money can be earned from home. Yes. To always have a discretionary fund. Excellent. Even pandemics present opportunities to make money. Yes. It's important to have a budget in writing, not just have it in your mind, you write it down. It's good to have a side hustle. Always have a plan B. Having an emergency helps. Multiple sources of income, excellent. Investing in services and goods that cater for basic needs. This is actually a deep one. I see you, I hear you. You can make money and not see where it's going. That's actually what I said earlier. You earn and you don't know what happened to it. Be flexible in your budget. Little expenses sum up to lots of unaccounted money. Prioritize savings before spending. It's always necessary to have multiple income streams. Important to utilize our non-financial assets. Excellent. Everybody dies. So live life to its fullest, spend while you can, because you know you can be dead tomorrow. Well, that's also a lesson. Importance of being debt-free, importance of tracking your income and expenses, invest rather than saving, lend out money wisely. Luxury money can be used for basic needs. I don't know what that means, but I guess there's a lesson that was learned there this season. Invest in your talents and your passions. Excellent. They are a source of income, actually. I think there's some first few ones I missed out. Just keep them coming. Pay your loans as fast as you can. Yes, money is easy to come by if you understand your market. Then I guess we went into savings. Those ones I have read. Invest in your talents and passions. Okay, so we generally have had lessons around investment. So I have asked this, talents can bring you money. That's good, Njoroge. I learned you should use money as a tool rather than money driving you. Exactly. Money is actually a tool. It's not the end. it's a means to an end. All right. So I will just keep them coming. I will share with you a slide. I need to share that this year, I've had the most demand for conversations about money than I have had in the last 10 years. I've had this conversation, of course, physically, in the last 10 years. But this year, there's a week, I think, April or May, every other day, I had a group wanting to know, this is where we are, what do we do going forward? Because I think the conversations were real. What we have been talking about, emergency funds, saving, investing in your talents, monetizing your passion, all that stuff has been like information, news, and kind of like noisy before COVID. But everybody got into this COVID period and realized one thing or the other. Either I've been laid off, I needed to have gotten multiple sources of income, or I'm at home, I'm saving my, it's as simple as I used to get stuck in traffic going to work for 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening. So I have 2 extra hours. What do I do with my extra hours? How can I monetize my passion? Or how can I make money from home within these 2 hours? So the conversations are different. Or I have a family member who has gotten COVID and we did not have a cover. We should have had a cover. It's maybe an elderly parent. They are over 70. What do I do about insurance? The conversations are real. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'll move on to the next slide. And here I will just go into the different lessons that people have shared with me over the last 6 months. Rainy days do exist, and you will see some of your answers here. There are rainy days. Passive income is key. I didn't see that on there, but you need to have, alternate sources, and passive income is key. Multiple streams of income need to be our targets. You need to continuously reskill yourself. That is not optional. Whatever skills you had, ask yourself every year, are you reskilling? Are the skills relevant to what is required for you to earn? Wastage, there has been so much wastage before. People really realize that they have been spending, I think somebody wrote, we spend on little things severally, and that adds up to something. Loans, the commitment stays irrespective of your ability to earn. So if you had a loan before COVID and you were earning before COVID, and then you were laid off after COVID, the loan does not disappear. So you need to first ask yourself, was it necessary to have taken the loan? Could you really afford that value of the loan? And did you take, some loans have like an insurance that is attached to it in case you lose your job, or in case you are normal, knock wood, the insurance company comes and pays off. Did you get such riders on your loan? Or do you now have a loan that you're stuck with and you need to sell the little that you have? So loans do not disappear just because there's COVID and things are thick. People realize that I am my sole key resource. The resource that earns is me. It's not my neighbor. It's not my wife. It's not my husband. It's not my child or my parents or my rich parents. I am the resource. And when you talk about the resource that earns, the resource that learns, because this is a learning process you're going through. If you do not learn, you are susceptible to losing what you have, or not even gaining what you could possibly gain. So you are a resource and you need to manage yourself as a resource. Nothing is written on stone. I guess this talks about contracts and jobs, and it doesn't matter how long you've been in a job. Well, when things are thick, there are decision makers who come and tell you, this is how it is. I'm sorry, we can't put it up. Overnight income loss is real. Our frugal friends were onto something, huh? So there are those buddies you have who say, who you'd say, this guy's not earn. I mean, they don't pay the bills when we go out. You ask them to buy something, they buy the cheapest of that something. They're always saying they're broke and stuff like that. So people come out and realize, oh, wow, these guys were onto something all the while, because they have made their savings, they have made their investments, they have more. When the income disappeared overnight, they remained with more. daily routines, they really do define who we are. So we had the daily routines before COVID. If you were getting up, you take a shower, you dress up, you get into some transport system, whether it's your car or public transport, you get stuck in traffic for 1 hour or something, you get to your workplace if you're working, or you get to school if you're still in school. And then you do the same in the evening, you get stuck in traffic for 1 hour, come back home, you're tired, you watch a movie, you put on Netflix, you sleep, okay? That defined who you were at the time. Today, many months after we have been in the house, working or learning from home, we have again developed new routines. The thing you need to ask yourself is your routine going to pay out for you in the long run? Or is it a routine that is actually costing you something? So they do define who you are, and they actually do define how much you earn. Legacy and succession planning is a must. We need to have a will. You've seen sudden deaths, yeah? You've seen a number of things happening. You just need to know whatever it is. And when you talk about the money journey, we're talking about the journey of your money even after you have passed on. It is your responsibility as you work on your money, providing for you today and tomorrow, that you write a piece of document. Write down a document that's in a document that's called a will that says, in the event of my demise, this is how I would like to distribute my property. You earned it. You need to be deliberate about how it's going to be distributed when you're not there. We've also learned that there are various insurance covers. The one that I think people did not know much about was the salary protection cover. Okay, you need to go find out if you're working, and if you're salaried, you need to find out from your bank or your insurance company what is the salary protection cover, because it is a cover that exists in the event that you are restructured from work. And I understand you can get paid between 6 months to 1 year of salary as you look for another job. There are, of course, riders and conditions, but anyway, it's a lesson that people have learned in this season. Again, we have learned that our network is our net worth. So you see where I talked about our routines, our daily routines do define who we are. Ask yourself, before COVID, for like a period of 6 months, who were you hanging out with? Who were those guys? When you had free evenings, free weekends, holidays, who were those guys you were hanging out with? And what was it worth to you? Did you grow with them or not? Now, post-COVID, you've been home for, I think, 60, 70, 80, and sometimes 100% of your existence, you've been at home or held up somewhere. Who are you hanging out with? And did those people you were hanging out with then, do they contribute to who you are today and who you will be tomorrow, positively or negatively? You need to establish that. Your network, whether it is a virtual network or a physical network, as in you really actually met these people, is your net worth. For example, in the last 2 months or thereabout, I have been talking to June, who's been putting this program together. I haven't met June. We haven't met face to face. June, we haven't actually even had a video session, but I know her voice. She texts me. She is now within the network that I would say, I know this person. And I'm within the network where she says she knows this person. And that's different in the last 2 months than it was for her last year, or than it was for me last year. So I need to assess, what does this mean for me, all right? So your network is your network. You need to be deliberate about building your network and understanding how can your network deliver for you, okay? So what? So what that everybody everywhere has said we've learned something. So what? This is what we are here to learn today, okay? Now, I'm gonna get into a 5-minute activity. I know we are, let me see how many we are now. 99, could say 100, which is fair because we'll have groups of 20 to 25. We are going to get into breakout sessions. So the team that is helping me will help me with that. In the breakout sessions, you will be, actually, I didn't write let me define this activity here, and then if you could, the team leaders, if you could please take a screenshot so that we are clear what it is. What I would like the team to do in the breakout session, it could go slightly above 5 minutes, depending on how the discussions are going. The first question is, what are, okay, so we're going to have 5 teams. Team 1, we are going to talk about expenses. Sorry. In your 20s. Okay, I actually forgot to say as we were starting for us to write what our age is, so that I get a feel of who's in the room. But if it's Rotaractors, I have spoken with Rotaractors before severally. I could guess the ages. The second team is going to do the expenses in your 30s. The third team will do team 3, expenses in your 40s. Team 4, expenses in your 50s. And team 5, expenses 60 plus. Okay, so this is what I would like to happen. Each team is going to have the top expenses, the key expenses. Don't break it down like water, electricity, sodas in the fridge and stuff. Just say food. Then you say utilities at home, something like that. I want to see what are these big expenses you have in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, and in your 50s. I want us to get a good understanding of what that is so that we come back and appreciate that our money really does have a journey, and the journey that our money takes is typical to the journey that we take as human beings. All right. So June, you will direct me from here. I guess we can get into the breakout sessions. The numbers here, if you could please take the ones who are facilitating the breakout rooms, whatever number is here is your breakout room number, and that's the expense category that you will be discussing. What are the typical expenses in these brackets of years? We can get started now.
Thank you, Rotary and Dolly. Sorry, just to clarify, we have 3 breakouts and not 5 as we had earlier expected. So I don't know how we can make that work.
Is it possible for you to add the breakout rooms? It's not, is it?
It is, yes, it is. But we
Oh,
can
you
only
just don't have
3
facilitators?
Yeah, we don't have enough. We just have 3.
Okay, so let me work this to the 3. So yeah. I'll write here 20s and 30s. And then I'll write, for this one, I'll write 40s and 50s. You'll actually realize it's kind of the same. And then team 3 will do expenses 60s to retirement, basically. 60 until you meet your maker. That works?
Yes, I think that is in order. So please, Morioki, please break us out. Thank you.
don't support. If a youth is selling some Okay, so I'll take it that we are all back from our breakout rooms. Thank you for the activities and the discussions. I did pop in and out of the groups, and there was a good conversation going. I would like to invite the person who was facilitating the first group in 2 minutes, tell us what are our expenses in our 20s and 30s. If you have it in a presentation mode, please do so that it forms the visual for everybody to see. Just share what our team leader.
Thank you. My name is Buddy from the Rotary Club of Mount Kenya Meru, and we in our group we were discussing about the kind of expenses that we in our 20s and 30s we have, and we add a lot of okay.
Did you have a chance to list them down?
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't really know where you are noting my end.
Oh, I actually thought you were annotating as you were getting the answers from the team.
Yes, I was.
Okay. I think I know what has happened. So you can just tell us, you can read out the typical expenses for the 20s and 30s.
Okay. So
Yeah.
one of the that was coming up most was travel and transportation bills.
Mm-hmm.
And we are saying that we travel to and from our job places, and also those who have vehicles, for all the vehicles, and also we have the food and rent and house bills, because most of us paying bills such as water, we call it electricity, internet, yeah, such bills. And we also add education for those who are studying still in college, and also those who study for masters and postgraduate studies. And also we add a repayment of the ARB loan, and because all those went to school, most of them are repaying for that ARB loan. And we also add the investments that these people between the age of 20 and 30 are trying to start. Then there's what we call the black tax. The black tax is where now that we are employed and doing some activities that generate financial income, we have to send something to our parents and our next our kin, all of them, the extended families.
Mm-hmm.
And we also add another one we called Dunda and partying, because we have a lot of fun and we use a lot of money in partying and in different ways of fun. Then there's charity like Rotract and Rotract deals and Rotract events and other charity events that we do. And also we add the family, because it is at this age whereby we start up families. So we spend money on weddings, payment of dowry for especially men, yeah, and also doing catering for the family, like paying school fees for the kids, PP1 and all that. And then we add another expense that is very big in our age, that is clothing and fashion. We spend a lot of money in buying clothes and keeping up with the fashions and different trends that come. And also we add, of course, the last one, which I think was about now the taxes and government expenses that we have to pay. Yeah, I have not forgotten the communication bills, the airtime and phones that we buy, and all the gadgets that we buy to use. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Buddy. Question I have is, which, if you were to mention from your discussion, which are the 3 major bills that are paid or expenses that are incurred?
3 major bills. One is housing
Mm-hmm.
and rent. And then the next one will be travel
Mm-hmm.
and transportation and communication. Then the last one, the major big one, is food.
Okay, all right. Housing, travel, and food. So thank you, Buddy, and the team that was in Buddy's team. So in your 20s and in your 30s, you get yourself to a place where you realize that most of what you're spending is actually on you. As you had housing, that is yours. The house is going to be a 1-bedroom house in your 20s, or a 1-roomed house, or a bed sitter as you start up. And as you advance towards your late 20s, we haven't quite talked about the 30s, which are really significantly different from the 20s. In your 20s, most of what you're spending is on yourself. You will travel, you'll entertain yourself, you'll go for Rotary events, you will go with, for your buddies' gigs and stuff like that. You will do this for yourself, you will do that for yourself, you'll buy this for your girlfriend, you'll do this. It is all about you. 80 to 90% in your 20s, it is about earning for you. What happens in your 30s, if we had enough groups and if we had broken up to 5 groups, you would have had a different tune in the 30s. In fact, I should have maybe thought to get a different group, even if I was going to facilitate it myself, to do the 30s alone. In the 30s, which is like an overnight after the 20s, you find that you have moved from a lot of my entertainment, my airtime, my clothing, my fashion, my house, my car, my buddies, my road trips, everything 20s is me, my, let me do. In the 30s, as he mentioned, you have paid dowry, you have gone to ask for somebody else's daughter to be your life partner, you have gotten into a home that is now for you and her, or you and him. They're 2 people who've come together, and in that space, what you find is that you start having conversations about money, not just about you, but you ask this other person, what do we do? All right. Now, whether you get married in your early 30s, mid 30s, or late 30s, whether you also choose not to get married, you realize that in your 30s, even the black tax collector gets a bit more bold with you. In your 20s, they would say, oh, you're still settling down. For those who don't understand it, the black tax is the supporting of our communities, our relatives, our neighbors, those phone calls you receive from your mom or your dad that says, you need to send money home because of this and that and the other, or the local church is having a harambe, you need to contribute to the church to be built. That request for your cash in Black Africa, I actually do understand and know for a fact that it is not just in Black Africa, but it's for the Black man globally, that you are called to help somebody else, your relative, right? So the tax collector is a bit more polite with you in your 20s. In your 30s, it is actually even put out like it's an expectation that now that you're in your 30s, similar to what somebody who was in his 30s before did for you, you need to start thinking about, taking these children to school, your brother's children to school, your sister's children to school, things like that. All right. In your 30s, the decision making is in pairs. Okay, I will talk about the normal curve, and the normal curve is where you find that your most of the population is married. I know there are outliers, the ones who got married earlier in their 20s, and others who will get married later after their 30s. But most of those in their 30s, at some point in their 30s, you settle down with somebody. Even if you do not settle with this person, you find that you have a child, and the decision making stops being about you. It is a drastic change between your 20s and your 30s. Does anybody prepare you for this? No. Do you actively go and seek information on how to manage the transition? I don't know. You're encouraged to. This is where decisions start becoming really difficult. And it is in fact proven that it is in your late 20s, mid to late 20s, that significant life decisions or happenings occur that determine how you will be financially for the rest of your life. You find that in your mid to late 20s, whether deliberately or not, you maybe borrowed some money to buy a car, to buy something, or you borrowed it because you could borrow and the bank told you you could qualify for it and you really didn't do anything with it. That loan stays with you for years, all right? And the decisions are, really largely done in your mid to late 30s. You find in your mid to late 30s, you might have a child, whether you're the mother or the father of the child, you might find that deliberately or not, the child has come. That is a permanent life occurrence, and that's a permanent financial obligation, all right? So you need to be very clear, because I know the age group here, I'm spending more time in the mid 20s to 30s. The transition that I see this group going through in the next 5 years is that you will be getting into situations where something happens in your life, whether deliberately or not, whether planned or not, that becomes a permanent financial decision that you have to take care of continuously through your life, all right? So you need to be very clear and very deliberate about that. In your 30s, not only do you have a spouse or a partner or a baby mama or a baby daddy, whether you're together or not permanently, here we're going to speak it as it is. In your 30s, you have a dependent, you have a partner, and you have aging parents. Parents who have started aging and looking upon you, who they educated for 22 years and telling you, how can you help? So it ceases being about you almost overnight, and you need to understand that. And if you were in a one-bedroom house or an SQ or bed-sitter in your 20s, when this family expands, whether it is your spouse and child or children, or whether now you're mature enough to receive your cousins and your younger siblings from upcountry, the house expands. And you need to get to a point where you find yourself getting to a point where you're paying for a two-bedroom house, you're feeding more than yourself. Somebody in the house is saying, give me bus fare, I need to go, to college because you have your young sibling there. You have a maid who's catering for your children, you have to pay the maid. Things start getting a bit rugged in your 30s. And that transition between your 20s and 30s, or when you're independent and then you get into people who are dependent on you, if you don't manage that well, then you find yourself getting into a rut that becomes this uncomfortable space that, depending on what you do with it, you come out successfully or not, all right? And it all comes down to financial education. Let's move to the 40s and 50s and see what was there for those ones who are doing the 40s and the 50s. So we have already moved from 20s of it's me, 30s, everything is starting to have an inclination of, I need to think about somebody else. Either it is a dependent, whether it's my child or my siblings or my village at home. I need to make this decision with my spouse or with my baby daddy or my, baby mommy, baby mama, or something. That's how the 20s and 30s look like. Let's now hear from the 40s and 50s. How does life progress?
Hi, Dolly.
Hi, Ricky.
Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Oh, good. So we're discussing the 40s and 50s. So it's not about you and your partner, now it's the whole family. So we saw some of the expenses would be the family amenities, things like food, medical expenses, like you need to have an insurance plan where, let's say your child gets sick, you have insurance to cover for them to go to hospital, pay bills for them for school fees. Like you have to take care of your family as a whole. And then another expense we saw would be rectifying mistakes from your 20s. That's when in your 40s, we divided this to say when your 40s, you're rectifying mistakes you did from your 20s. That's if you took loans, if you like bought a car you didn't need, that when you're selling it. Yeah. And in your 50s now, you're planning for retirement because like you've been making money all your life. This you need to start planning for when you stop working. Another thing, exterior family members asking for help. Let's say your wife's siblings want money for so-and-so. A member of your family is sick. In your 30s, that's when they see you're newlyweds, so they don't usually disturb you for money. But in your 40s and 50s, when you've already moved in your family, you've stayed together for a while, so they feel more comfortable and inclined to ask you for money and assistance. And since you're more, they see like your family is growing and you're doing well, that's when they come to you for. So yes, exterior families. And we were privileged to have in our group one of our participants. He's 49, so he advised us like in your 20s and 30s, and that's when you start investing. You should start investing. So in your 40s and 50s, see that's when you're taking loans to pay for your house and such things. Because he said the first loan he ever took when he was 29 years old, and the first time he moved out was 31 years old. And right now where he is, he's in a comfortable place because of all the decisions he made in his 20s and 30s. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're being advised, 40s, we need to be more, like we need to start planning early for them, certainly because we're young, we're thinking we just have fun. Yeah. Another thing we said, if you're privileged to have children in your 20s, because right now the young guys are having children, many people have young children, mm-hmm. You can start your retirement as early as 40, because in your 20s you have the children, 30s you educated them. When you're in your 40s, mid-40s and 50s, they're practically 18 and above. So by then they'd be setting up their life, and you see they'd be sending in money to their families, like to their parents. So yeah, you can start your retirement as early as 50. And yes, another thing, 40s and 50s, pushing your business. Let's say you have a business that's ongoing. You can take a loan to pay to push your business, but it should be a business that you already started and it's already moving on. Not a business that you're starting then and then. It has to be a business that's it's already in motion, that you're just pushing it to go further.
Okay.
So I think that's all the time we had.
Okay, thank you, Ricky. And it's great that you had somebody who's in his 40s, approaching 50s, that gave you that insight. So in your 40s and your 50s, you realize that, again, depending on how your 20s and 30s went, You either have children in high school, children in primary school, or children who are actually finishing or about to finish university. Depends on when you started having the children, okay? Now, if you had your children late, then you realize that you are in your 40s and you have 5-year-olds or 3-year-olds. That means that you have to cater for the journey of this child, until they finish university, whilst you're starting at the age of 40, and the child would need to be in school for 20 years or thereabout. So if you start at 40 and your child is, say, the first year of school, meaning your child is under 5 years of age, then you have 15 to 20 years to figure out how you're going to finance this child's education. That's if you started with the children late. As you said, Ricky, those ones who were blessed to have their children in their 20s, it might have come, as I said, deliberately or not. It might have been a ponyox, as you said, or an oops, or it was, I do know families that are that have been encouraging their children. I went for a wedding in Tanzania late last year, and I saw that the couple was very young. The guy, I think, was 26 and the lady was 24. And I thought to myself, in Kenya, I think we get married old, as in deliberately, this is my bride, let's go and do it. Maybe not in the rural Kenya, but in the urban centers. And then when I got talking about that, I realized that it is actually typical, maybe much more typical for them to get married young. And I saw the benefit of that is that you have 14, 15-year-old when you are 45, for example. You're still young and agile, and you have a child who is almost maybe in university, just started or almost finishing university. But what I want to say is that in your 40s, 50s, there's a lot around education of children. In your 40s and your 50s, there is a lot around, in fact, a bigger home, because you had multiple children who have grown up. You find around your early 40s or maybe late 30s, if you have a car, you had 2 small children when you started in your 20s, 30s, they're small. You get to a point where you hear, the car is too small for my big-bodied 19-year-olds. You're thinking about changing the size of this car. So realities get you to the point where you say, this is my situation today. For me to deliver or to achieve what I always thought about as a family person, this is what I need to do in terms of my education for my children, my home for my children, where we will retire as a family. The car that I'm driving my children around, it might be that small. You started off in your 20s and you're still driving your small babies in, a Vitz or the small cars, whichever they are nowadays. But then you start feeling the car, getting a bit small, and you change it at some point. So these decisions start actually following you much more than you following them. In your 20s, you're saying, I want a car because it looks good to have a car, or people are getting cars, or it's a status thing. In your 30s, 40s, you actually realize this is the only way we can do it. Either that, or I figure out how to get my children to school every morning, So it becomes, you're still going to be contributing to the people up country. If you are this Black African who cares and who has been raised as I have been, you're still going to have these people in the Black tax. Then your family is grown and it has more financial and even emotional demands on you. You have to be present for your family. It will matter at this point what you did with your education. Whether you stopped your education when you finished your first degree at the age of 21, 22, 23, whether you continuously reskilled yourself, because it will matter, because over the years into your 40s, did you gain skills that continuously get you employable and employable at higher positions, much more higher paying positions, because you realize that the bill is big and it's real, and you need to up your game in your earnings, all right? That is the 40s and the 50s. You did mention a point about retirement and planning for your retirement. As you had, only when you get to your 40s and 50s is when you start thinking, oh my God, a time will come when I have to retire. When the buddy and his team were discussing their 20s and 30s, they did not talk about retirement. Then you get to the 40s and 50s, all the groups have done in the last 20 years, or I don't know, 15 years have done this exercise. Only when we get to 40s and 50s is when there's a hint of a conversation on retirement funds, planning for retirement. But then after you've listened to the people who presented for 20s and 30s, you realize that nobody in their 20s and 30s thinks that retirement is coming. One of the key reasons I do this activity is so that you understand at this age in your 20s and 30s, because I understand that's the majority of those who are online today, that you must put aside whatever it is you earn today in your 20s for your retirement. At least 10 to 15% of what you earn should deliberately be put aside for retirement. As you've had, in your 40s and 50s, your family is large. Your parents are aging. They're ailing. You're paying medicals. You're paying this black man tax. You're paying for higher education. You're paying for a bigger house. You're servicing a bigger car. You're moving 3 children with 3 activity interests across the city. This one is a tennis player. That one is a, I don't know, swimming player. And you don't want to let your children down. There's so much that you're incurring at that time for yourself and your folks that there might be little or nothing left for you to save for your retirement. So you need to start this early. The retirement conversation needs to start in your 20s. Now let's quickly get to the retirement age, 60 plus plus. Let's hear what's happening there so that we can have this conversation all wrapped up. Thank you, Ricky.
Hi everyone, so I'll present what my group discussed for 60 plus. So the first one was food, that will continue to be an expense. Medical, as you grow older, you're more susceptible to illnesses, and so that would be a key cost. Fuel, in case you have a car. Then the other thing that we discussed is vacation and travel. We also have insurance, investments. You'll continue to invest in your 60s, utilities. The other thing was business. So you realize in your 60s, you're probably retired. And if you were, say, a civil servant, you'd probably want a small business just to keep you busy. And then social clubs. We also have a lot of donation and charity work. Education for relatives. If you had your kids later on in life, probably some of them are in university, or if you're able, you're also supporting some of your relatives' kids. Then we have personal projects, for example, agriculture, hobbies. And the other thing we discussed was legal. You're probably coming up with a will and getting your affairs in order. Then we also talked about gifting. And the last thing was construction. So just because you're in your 60s doesn't mean that projects stop. So you'll probably have a construction here and there.
Okay. Thank you, Millie, and the group that discussed the 60s and plus plus. So you will find that, I'll start with the last one. Your bills and your major projects do not go away because you're old. In fact, if you had been very organized in your life and you got your house in your early 30s, and it's your house, you'll find that 30 years later, you're 60, 70, you need to fix the roof, you need the plumbing. In fact, the other day I was told there's an estate, a neighborhood that had to redo its piping because the pipes had rusted completely. So you are retired, you bought the house, you're happy, you know everything is fine. Then you realize that the water that is coming through to your home is full of rust, and you're actually being told the reason why you're sick is because of the water you're consuming. Okay, you're consuming water that is highly rusty. I mean, the rust is high, and that you need to change the steel pipes to plastic pipes. You're in your 60s, 70s. You've retired. Whether you plan for your retirement and you have money or not is one thing. Whether you have children who you parented well, who you raised. I was told there's a difference between, a raised child and a child who aged. There's a difference between aging and maturing. Okay, so if you had children who aged through the years, they might not be thinking and listening about your pipes and the black tax thing that you might be calling them for. But if you raised them and matured them through the years, they actually would come through for you. So Even raising children is a financial decision. How you raise your child is also a financial decision. You need to think about that as well. In your aged years, the biggest bill or a significant bill that comes to you is the medical bill, okay? And you need to actually engage with your medical providers earlier before the age of 70, because they do have a cutoff after which they cannot cover you, meaning that if you get sick, which is actually likely in that stage of your life, you might have to pay out of pocket, okay? Again, in this retirement years, you're going to find out, did you have a retirement plan? Did you have a nest egg, as we call it, where you can get the eggs being laid and you can eat the eggs, but not the chicken, okay? You don't eat the hen. Don't eat the hen, you eat the chicken. Okay, please mute yourself, somebody, Marianne. You have to have planned out your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s to have a comfortable 70s, 80s, and 90s. I'm telling you that in your 20s and 30s because not many of us hear that. You cannot outsource aging. You cannot outsource your old self to somebody else. You're still your own key resource, as I had said earlier. So I'm going to share a screen that puts this a bit, makes this a bit visual. This is our aging screen. This is our screen that shows us how, you know, we age through the years. I will just pick a pen here so that I can use it to summarize this part of the presentation. So largely, when you are this age group here, you are somebody else's responsibility, okay? You cry and it is sorted out. You wet your pants and the diaper is changed. You don't know where the diaper is coming from, whether, you know, you just have to be sorted out. So you are somebody else's responsibility in this age. Around here, you're in high school. Also still, we call this, this is a high school university person. This is where you start having your first hint of independence, where folks say, which I tell my 20-year-old son, you have to earn some money on your own, all right? So I know I need to pay for your school fees. I need to pay for you to get to school, you know, the transport. But if you need to go and, you know, change your clothes, buy your fashionable clothes, meet your Rotaractors, do this and that, you need to start earning money. This is what is called raising a child, not, you know, watching the child mature through age through the years, right? You start as a parent raising this child here so that they start hitting independence and very fast. However, they still are somebody else's responsibility because if things don't work out, they still come back home. That's if they moved out in the first place. At this age here, we can call this now our 40s and 50s, or our 30s, actually. This is our 30s. Let's call this our 30s to mid 40s. You are independent. You have moved out of home. You have a spouse, you have a child, maybe 2 children. You have a maid you're sorting out. You have school fees, bus transport, you have children's activities. You have your master's degree that you're thinking, I need to up my game in education because I need to earn more. You have a retirement plan that you realize you should have been thinking about earlier. Hopefully you're now thinking about it. Things are going on here. You'll find that this is actually one of the busiest seasons of your life, you know, as in the thought process, as you go home each day, you realize that there's a lot in your mind, all right? But you have to sort it out. You have to sort it out with the spouse you have to sort it out even with the children as they come and say, you know, Mom, I want this, or Dad, I want this. There's a want, there's a need, and there's what you need to have. Your conversations start changing. This is around the time where you start saying, I'm beginning to sound like my mother. I'm beginning to sound like my father, because what? Life is hitting you the real way. Then you move on from that and you get to this point. Sorry, so just before we move from there, you realize that this person here in the middle has dependence 2-way. This person is responsible. Let me just take maybe another color. This person is responsible for this group here. They have children. So it is your responsibility You sort out this group, and then you have aging parents as well. Okay, you have this aging parent who is looking to you and whatever else in the community you have. So you are in this critical season where people are saying, we educated you, mom is sick, your uncle is not feeling well. We are all the cousins have been told to contribute to this bill. There is so-and-so's wedding who's coming. So the phone calls that come from the aged side are for you to sort out the plan, okay? The phone calls that come from home where you have left your children are to sort out these ones who are still your dependents. So you have dependents who are older than you, and you have dependents who are younger than you, okay? And then we move on to the next age group, which is this one here. You're in your 40s, your 50s. Around here, depending again on when you got your children, you have children around here, okay? You still do not have this adult child, but maybe you wished at this time you had started your family early, what we had mentioned somewhere in that conversation. So you have these people that you need to sort out. And then of course you still have your aging parents, if they're still there, and your aging relatives, uncles, aunties, and stuff like that. And depending on how this life went here, you're comfortable or not, and the age and this other category here, sorry, this other category here, the green guy, where is this button of mine, becomes the guy who, as you can see, he's carrying a golf stick. Yeah, this guy seems to have worked it out well. Okay, he's golfing. This guy's child is, please mute your lines. This the guy's child is maybe this age. If he had a late child, maybe the child is this age. So maybe put it this way so that you see this guy has this guy and this guy as a child for children. So you're comfortable, they're independent. And if lucky, he still has his parents. This is your life journey. This is your money's journey, okay? So this is actually, if you forget everything that I've said today, this is your money journey. And your money journey relates 110% to your life journey. The life decisions you make determine how your money journey will go. Wherever it is that you start having a family, wherever it is that real talk, when I do this journey through the years, activity in workplaces, I do this in workshops in workplaces where we have people in their 40s, 50s, 60s also in the workplace. They actually do realize that, let me clear everything here, that, you know, at this age here, they had these children and the older parents, okay? And then they also realize, this is true story, so you have to really think about your life decisions because your life decisions are your money decisions. At some comfortable age here, they got somebody else. And then at this stage, you remember we said this guy has children here and he has children here. The children are aging and that's why he can afford to golf. Things are comfortable. But then a decision is made maybe around here, you know, you never know, around here or maybe there. And he finds himself back here or back here. Your life decisions will determine your money decisions. At this point, you want to think about your own retirement. You want to think about your aging parents if they're still there. So you need to figure out whatever it is you're doing, is it actually moving you forward or taking you 2 steps back? All right, real talk. Any questions before I move on to the, now that we know all this, how do we move forward part? You can type your questions and then I will answer the ones that are there. If not, we move on to the next part. Let me check. Can somebody read out any questions if they're there, June? If not, I can move on to the next part.
I can't see any questions. Wait. Paul is asking, what age do you recommend getting kids?
Okay, so
Wow.
so I'm a financial advisor and not family one, but whatever decision you make in life, you need to be comfortable with that decision you're making. First of all, you need to be deliberate about the decision. Whether it is getting the child or marrying the person you want to marry, or moving from one small house to a big house, buying one car, whichever decision you're making, you need to have not only today's answer for that decision, you need to have tomorrow's answer for the decision. So that is basically what I would tell you about that. Of course, it is it's not easy to have children when you're young and you're still trying to figure out your own life, especially the way the financial environment is today. But it is doable. Is it easy? No. Is it doable? It is doable. You need to have discipline. You need to be a resource on your own. I tell people, if you're earning one income or you're trying to finish school so that you get a job, I tell my children, there are no jobs. Do not go to school so that you go and get a job. You need to go to school to learn, get an education so that you figure out with this education and continuous lifelong learning, how do I monetize what I know or what I can do so that I pay the bills that I need to pay throughout my life. This is the discussions I have with my students. All right. So be very deliberate about the decision making you have. We are planned for in our lives. I'll use the Kenyan education system, the old one, because I know now there's a new CBC one. I'll use the 844 one. We are told go to school for 8 years. In the eighth year, we will test you. So when you start your life, you know you're being tested at year 8. You pass that, you go through to high school, you're told, okay, now do another 4 years of life, do it well. This is the curriculum. When you finish the 4 years, at Form 4, we will test you. Then you go again and have another test. And then you pass that test, you go to university and you're told every semester you're going to do exams and they will count for a degree after 3 or 4 years. Then you will graduate, we'll celebrate you. Then you go again, you're celebrated. Guess what? After those years, nobody gives you a 4 or 8 year curriculum. You need to give it to yourself. You need to figure out now, I graduated, I don't know, at 22. What is my next 4 years going to look like? Set the curriculum for yourself. Set the question paper and the answer sheet yourself. What am I trying to say? Don't just wake up in the morning and have your oopses or your ponyoxes because you didn't plan, because you didn't see where you're going. At some point, people stop setting exams and expectations for you, and they expect that you're mature enough to set those for yourselves, okay? So that is a question you actually need to think through with a coach, with a mentor, yeah? And then have the answer to that. Okay, any other question before we move on? All right, let's move on so that we can cover the slides that I intended for today. Let me now talk, now that we have talked about the life stages, let me talk about how the life stages connect to your financial planning, all right? Now, from birth, let me get my pen again. From birth up until a certain age, let's divide this life. Let's assume you live for 100 years, all right? So the first stage, number one, there are 4 stages in life. The first stage is your learning phase. Here, you're learning everything. You're learning how to read, how to write, how to do your math, how to calculate mentally. You're learning how to build relationships. You're learning what works to keep a friend and what doesn't work. And people chase you and they're not your friends. You're learning how to get to town by Mach 3. You're learning how to drive a car. You're learning. It is all a learning thing. So there's the education academic curriculum in school, and then there's everything else you're learning. You're learning how to cook, how to clean a house. You're learning how much the electricity bill costs. You're learning that talking rudely to your parent will earn you a slap. You are learning a lot. Your first years of life are just your learning years. And it is expected that you maximize on your learning. You're learning that there are people who have been kicked out of their homes because the dad did not pay the rent. You're learning that there are relatives who move in because they don't have anywhere to go. You're watching this and you're learning. You're learning as you get that learning that you would want they want to start a family and allow all their children to have their own beds and not share with their relatives. You're learning many things. This is your learning season. In this season, not many people have so many expectations from you financially. The only expectation they require is that you learn and you mature through the years. Don't just age, right? After your first phase of learning, you go into building. This is when the whole world expects you to look like the learning meant something. Build your career, build a network, build a house, build a marriage, build a friendship, yeah? Build an understanding, build an expertise, build a business. This is your building phase. I will estimate your learning years to end around 25. The reason you have these blue lines here is because it is not cast in stones. There are those ones who do it early, others do it later. I just need you to know that there's a flow, yeah, to appreciate the flow. In your building years, you should not tire. You need to build your knowledge, build your network, build your mentor group, build your coach group. Who is in your coach group? Who is in your circle? Build your inner circle, all right? Build your financial literacy skills and knowledge and understanding. Build your skills on, how to even use Zoom. Because why? If you have a passion, even if it's cooking, you will need to use a platform online. You need to build that skill, all right? The building years are the years that will determine how the rest of your life will go. If you are on this call and you are approaching your mid-20s and you go all the way to, I think, around 45, even 50, you are assumed to be in your building years, okay? In your building years, there's no hurry. There is some pressure. You need to actually give yourself that urgency, some pressure, but you need to do it deliberately. Again, don't wake up in the morning and realize, oh my God, I should have been doing this. You need to realize that you are in the second phase of your life and there's stuff you need to do in this life. You have seen those people who are, I don't know, in their 60s and they're walking around and you go like, this guy, or this lady, they behave like they're in their 20s, How can he do something like that? He's so old to do that, or she's too old to do that. These are people who have kind of gotten stuck, in one phase or the other, or not advanced to the next stage. If you have your building sorted out well, you move on to this third part, which is the leveraging. What does leveraging mean? It means you take what you built, and you take what you learned, and on those two foundations, you had a learning foundation, a building foundation, and on those two, you now put everything together and say, how can I maximize this? All right. If I built a career as an accountant, maybe I can start an accounting firm. I can start an accounting school, but although that is the building part, all right? The building part is I'll start the accounting firm, or I can start teaching or mentoring account students, I don't know, whatever it is. But the leveraging part is where you say, because I know all this, because I've built this network, I have built this expertise, I've built this home in 5 acres in my rural shags, and I can now bring all these things together and have from them an opportunity that continues serving me without actively engaging in them. Okay, so I'm consolidating. They actually also called your consolidating years. You consolidate everything and say, now they're fine. The ones that you see that are makelele mingi, the others you go like, I was young, I could run the matatu business. I'm too old now, I need to let it go. You let it go. Because where you are in your life, you feel that I can't do this anymore. You have to make the decision. But you leverage, you consolidate, you put everything together and say, I'm really good. And this is the guy on the slide before. This is the guy on the slide before who had not the hockey stick, the golf stick. You could see he's solid in where he is with himself, and you say, wow, when I get to that age, I'd like to be there. That guy. And then you come to your aging years, you have declining health, okay? And here, what will count for you is relationships you built, passive income you built, children you parented and raised, you know, a number of things that are more like how did you do life with the people around you, with the money that you earned. And that becomes, you know, how you deal with the fourth phase of your life. Okay, so this is again the journey through your life. And the journey through your life is really your money journey. And you need to figure out at what point you are and what decisions you need to make at that point in your life. Okay. Going on from there, the question is now, so what do we do? Now we know all this, we need to move forward. What is the way forward? I'm going to quickly go through these slides now here. And the first thing is you need to get into reflection. I have said a lot, okay? You need to think about what did Dolly say when we went into that workshop or this webinar. What does it mean for me? Where am I? If you go back here, who am I? Where am I? What are the decisions I'm making? Okay, you come back here. Am I still in the learning phase going towards building? Am I in the first years of my building? Am I even aware that I'm in my building years? Have I just realized I'm in my building years, which is also very okay, that if today you leave realizing that you are on year one of building, it's perfect, it is fine. The realization is the first thing. The next thing is to ask, what does building entail? What am I building? And you write down all those things that I talked about, your network, your family, your house, your career, your reputation. You're building everything, because you cannot have a successful business that you built and your reputation is bogus. It will not be something you can leverage on in phase 3. You're building everything, tangible and intangible. Okay, so you get out of this call understanding the reason why I want you to first reflect is just go figure out, what did she say? Where am I? Am I in the first, second, 10th year of learning? Have I moved on to building, and how do I want this building phase to be? Am I in the first years, the shy years of consolidation or leveraging? What does the leveraging look like? And do I need to get a mentor to take me through leveraging and all that kind of conversation? Now, you will realize that reflection is one of the most underused, yet the most powerful tools for success. Quickly here, everybody will tell me, I want to know how to earn passive income. I want to know how to, I don't know what. I want to know, no, just go into silence. Reflect, understand who you are, what your values are. What do you value in your 20s? What do you think you will value in your 30s, in your 40s, in your retirement years? Write them down. If you were to write the story of your life, how will it look like? Write it, draw it, paint it, color it, make it nice and colorful. This is the reflection part. It has to start from reflection. You need to see yourself 10, 15, 20 years from today. You need to see yourself with those grandchildren. When I teach people in my 8 class sessions, one of the sessions I have is a reflection of retirement. When I'm teaching around retirement, I don't start saying you need to, save your money here. The government of Kenya allows you to do this. There's tax release from retirement funds. I don't do that stuff, at least not in the beginning. Okay, I ask them to sit down and ask themselves, close your eyes. You see yourself at retirement. What do you see? Okay, I see children. Who are they? How old are they? Oh, my children, they're in their 30s. Oh, wow. What else do you see? I see grandchildren. What are they doing? They're running up and down and laughing and giggling. Are they happy or are they not happy? Are you happy? Are you not happy? Those are the stories I want to hear first. Because when you connect with that kind of story, I tell you, you will wake up every morning from the age of 21 thinking about, how do I make that picture come true? You will wake up in your 20s and realize you need to save for your retirement because you want to close your eyes and see some nice lawn with nice green grass, with children playing, grandchildren playing and giggling and laughing and rolling and maybe crying and telling you to I need a hug or whatever. But you're also seeing your children that you deliberately raised, and they are there giving you stories about this is what we're doing in life right now. So you need to think, take time to reflect. It is so powerful, the reflection part, because once you create that picture, then half your money decision is made. Like a significant part of your decisions about money is made after you see the picture, okay? Then after that, you value, I mean, one other thing I wanted to say about reflecting is that the value you receive from reflective thinking will depend on the questions you ask yourself. Now, if you go there and you're polite to yourself, you're good to yourself, and you don't ask yourself the hard questions, then your reflection is not complete. Ask yourself the right questions. There's somebody who wrote there, I saw one of the comments, someone writing to Kevo, telling Kevo, unaona marriage age 35. I saw something like that in the comments. You need to go find out whoever it is you are and whoever it is you're writing to. You know, if you are in the position where you need to have that conversation, you need to have that proposal, you need to have that child, you need to, I don't know, whatever it is, ask yourself the hard question and then figure out what you need to do. This is all in the reflective stage of your action taking, where in the actions we need to take, knowing that our lives and the decisions we make determine our money decisions as well. So reflection is a very humbling process. It is essential to find out why you think, say, and do certain things. It is very humbling. But after you're done with this, you become better. You become a better person. So number one action you take is to reflect. The second thing after reflection, you move on to planning. We're talking about money, and I'm going to talk specifically about the financial planning process. How does this process generally go? Number one, you determine your current situation. Where are you right now as a person in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s? Where are you in the decision? Where are you in the 4 stages of life? Are you transition, ping-ponging, which is fine, between learning and building? Or are you ping-ponging between building and leveraging, or building and consolidating? So you need to figure out where you are first. You can't start the journey without knowing where you are. You already have, in your reflection here, you've seen the end. You've seen where you want to go. Here now, you're planning from where I know where I want to go, but I want to know and I need to understand where I'm at right now. So you know where you are, develop your financial goals, number 2, identify the way forward, the course of action, number 3, number 4, assess your situation, consider options, and evaluate all the alternatives you have. So you know your courses of action, and then you go like, okay, this one is risky, this one is fine. You figure out how do you action those items. Number 5, you create and then start implementing your plan. And number 6, you revise your plan annually, half yearly, to find out where you are as per where you want it to be. And then you start the cycle all over again. Okay, so the second stage is planning. You start with where are you right now? You started with reflection. Reflection is today and where you want to go. You move on to planning. Where am I today? Number 1, current situation. Develop your goals, your alternative actions, figure out how to action them, implement them, revise them, and go around the flow again. This is the planning and doing part, all right? After that, you act. So reflecting and planning is nothing without action. There are 3 things I want you to consider as you're acting. Number 1, the first one, is your mindset. If your mind is not in the game, then you're still not going to get there. You need, I read, I must look for that. It was such a powerful forward, this WhatsApp forward that came through today. I will get it. That said something like, it was something like, here it is actually. Martina Navratilova, I think she's a tennis player, I think, was once asked, how do you maintain your focus, physique, and sharp game at the age of 43? So she gave a humble reply and said, the ball does not know how old I am. You need to stop yourself from stopping yourself. You need to stop yourself from stopping yourself. Every game in life is actually played on a 6-inch ground. Every game in life is actually played on a 6-inch ground. That is the space between your 2 ears, okay? So between this ear and that ear, she estimates 6 inches, and she says, every game you play in life is played here, okay? So it's really your mind, and that's why I'm talking about the mindset. We don't live in bungalows. We don't live in duplexes. We don't live in flats. We live in our mind, which is an unlimited area. Life is great when things are sorted out and uncluttered in your mind. So the key factor to performing well in life and in every arena is your ability to control the quality and the quantity of your internal dialogue. So your internal dialogue is what you need to control. It's your mindset. It all starts in your mind. Performance is potential minus internal interference. Performance is potential minus internal interference, okay? So here's the thing. Even if I give you what I would call a blueprint to financial planning, if your mind is not there, there's nowhere you're going to go. So the reflection part still gets you to use the 6-inch field that she talked about. Think about it, reflect on it. Planning is also happening in your mind. So you have to declutter it. Remove everything that's in your mind that is not making you see it clearly. Then increase your awareness and develop that open mind that gets you to start acting. So after that, you then get your skill set on. So you learn and relearn. So after you know what you need to do, you feel it, you see it, you can see your grandchildren, you can hug them, you can see your nice house, you can see your career, you can see your network. You need to actually even ask yourself, do you see your network? Who are those people in your network? You know, do you see your inner circle? You know, they say the 5 people who are closest to you. Think about them now. Then put their names apart somewhere, cover the name upside down. Then think about it and say, who do I want to see in my inner circle? And write the description of the person. You might not have a name yet, but you need to learn and relearn how to do this, how to skill up to build a network, how to skill up to be a good friend that people want even to consider in their inner circle. You need to figure out relationships. There are many things. You need to learn financial literacy. You need to learn how to invest in stocks, in bonds. You need to learn a lot of stuff. This is the learning that needs to happen. Then after that is when you get the tool set. If you get a tool set without a skill set, then you will get into a place where you're told, put your money here in the bonds because everybody is doing it. The bond is a tool, okay? Bonds and shares and stocks, those are tools. But what are you putting the shares there for? So that what? You need to understand the options you have, but you need to know why you're using the options you have, okay? So quickly recap, reflect, plan, act. Specifically to your financial income, you need to have different types of income coming in. There's the active income where you need to be present, whether it is your office or your business. You earn it 9 to 5 usually, and you're paid for the time that you have. This is assuming a full-time job. It could be also your entrepreneurship journey, but you have to be present. It is called active income. You have to be actively engaged for you to earn. Then there's passive income. This is a whole topic on its own. I did see somebody on the chat saying, I look forward to having a passive income, to know more about passive. This passive income on its own, I take 2 to 3 hours to discuss. But you need to start building different streams of passive income, so that the income, actually the passive income is usually lower in your 20s. And if you work it well, it increases in your 40s, 50s. So it's the income that is earning in the back without your active involvement or engagement. You want it to grow through the years. Portfolio income is investment income. This is, you need to have a portfolio. You need to figure out how to put a portfolio together. And then how do you earn from stocks, from funds, from equities? This is, again, goes into, have I learned something? Am I learning anything? But within, when you're having, like, when you say, I have 7 streams of income, you need to also ask yourself, are they all under earned income? Or are some of them in passive and some in portfolio? What do I mean? If you have 7 biasharas you are running, you're a hustler of 7. Those biasharas and those hustles will die the minute you get hospitalized because you're not actively there. So they are all one kind of income earned 7 times. Let me repeat that. If you have 7 hustles, One is for dropping kids at school in the morning. The other is for teaching as I'm teaching here. You see this, I'm actively actually teaching over here. The other one is I have a job, by the way. Even as I do all these things, I am employed by, this company. The other one is in the evenings, I usually walk people's dogs, or I don't know, something, or I go to a children's home and help with this and they pay me some money. You have to physically present yourself there. Over the weekends, I go to Gikomba, I buy, secondhand clothes, I come wash them, iron them, and then start flogging them. Those are active income earning streams. There are several of them, but they're under one type of income. The reality is that if you fall sick or if you die, your family will not have access to them, or you will not be able to continue generating income. So you need to earn from your active income, invest that income in portfolio and passive income, or even start thinking, how do you earn income passively? You could write a book. One of the things of passive income, you write a book, as it's selling itself and just promoting it, you get the royalties for your book. So that is passive. Whether you're alive or dead or in the hospital, that money will keep coming in. Okay, the portfolio income, the same. If you buy a stock today for $10, I mean, people have made so much money in stocks this year in the US and from the US stock exchange, not they were in the US. I know many people in Kenya who saw the opportunity to buy in February, March stocks, US stocks here in Kenya. They bought them and they made a lot of money. So they did not have to be in the US. But the way you get to earning portfolio income is learning, is your circles. Who do you keep around you? It's learning, continuous lifelong learning. Have you gone to this school? Are you getting into this webinar? What is this webinar telling you? Are you continuously improving yourself? The building part, building knowledge, building networks, building circles, that is what will come through for you. And then finally, this is the last slide. You need to talk about money with yourself, with your spouse, with your kids, with your parents. I don't know who's on the call, what ages you are. Ask yourself the hard questions. Yourself, am I continuously learning? Am I investing enough time for financial education? Is my health is my wealth? Am I taking care of my body? Because it will count one day that you did not take care of your body or you're taking things harmful to you in your 20s. Welcome to your 50s and your body will remind you what you did in your 20s. Am I investing in my network because I understand my network is my net worth? That's questions to yourself. Then with your spouse, where does all our money go? Have the hard conversations early and in detail. Where does all our money go? Do we know? Do we need to change who does what? Are our retirement plans on track? What is our risk tolerance? Me and you, Mr. Man or Madam, yeah? Have we written a will? Do you have a will? Do I have a will? Is it covering our children? Are we waiting to die and then something happens? With our children, ask them, tell them you don't need a new iPhone 5 or you don't need a PlayStation or something. You want it. There's a difference between a want and a need. That is raising the child. And you need to get there. What is the right thing to do? Ask your child, what did you do? Okay. What is the right thing to have done? Then you teach the child and raise the child. They need to learn how money works. Currently, I am teaching every Tuesday and Wednesday a group of 16 or thereabout, 13 to 19-year-olds, 19-20. I have 13 to 19-year-olds every Tuesday and Wednesday since September, and we finish early January. We are in a session where we learn about investing in the New York Stock Exchange. They are 13 to 19-year-olds largely. They have amazed me about how much they are willing to learn fast and how much they can carry on. If I could present one of them to you today, they would come here and show you a portfolio, which goes back to this here, portfolio income. This is what we are learning with them, portfolio income. They have put together a portfolio of, a fictitious portfolio that says, these are the companies I'm buying stocks for, and these are the reasons why I'm buying the stock for these companies. They have learned how to choose a stock, they learned how to observe the movement of a stock, how to weigh your risks around the stock. why you need to buy this stock versus the other. Is it for school fees? Is it for retirement? Do you know, do you want the stock to deliver for you in 5 years or in 20 years? Because then it means different things. So your children do have the ability to learn. And if you're here in your 20s and you're hearing that these children in their teens are learning, then you also ask yourself, what do I need to do? Push yourself, go into learning. Remember the learning phase? You can keep ping-ponging back into learning. It doesn't really matter. You can come from leveraging back into learning. It really doesn't matter. We learn anyway throughout our lives. And then with your parents, ask questions to your parents. These conversations are difficult, but very important. Have you written a will, mom? You know, or dad, have you written a will? Do you have life insurance? Do you have medical? Let's go and get your medical insurance. Who do you want to manage your finances? Or something like that, you know? And once you have the real conversations, you realize that the whole journey of life is the journey of money. So you can't separate your money conversations away from your life conversations. So the decisions that you make about life are really decisions you make about money. So that's what I wanted to bring out to your attention today. So I'm open for questions. If you could kindly read the questions and I will respond to them. Any questions? Somebody can read out the questions, please, so that it moves faster that way. If there are any, that's it. On this slide, you will see, again, my Facebook and my email address. If you want to ask questions after, or just ping me and we can get talking into how you get started. I'm trying to access. So any questions? I'll say I see comments, not questions. How does one join the classes on the New York Stock Exchange? Okay, so this was a very specific program that is being run by Wharton Business School for teenagers around the world. I'm actually thinking of putting one together for maybe people in their 20s. So Victor Kenneth, you saw my email address, just write to me and then we see whether we can get started on that next year. Thank you, Murioki. You loved the talk, was thought-provoking. Actually, all I needed to do, there's a lot about financial education. I can't teach it in one sitting. All I wanted to do was to get you guys thinking and asking yourself the right questions. Just the mindset change from living life without a plan to living life understanding that it is a journey. Okay. Where does Forex trading lie in the 3 categories of income? Forex trading should be, I would say, around the portfolio trading, not quite passive, because there's some activity still in the portfolio income that it requires your activity and your engagement. So I think it's the portfolio. This was a power session. Thank you, Dolly. Thank you, Rizzi. Indicative cost of the program. It's not clear which program.
Dolly, someone is asking what are your views on joint investments? Joint accounts, such like things.
Okay, so joint, it depends. Are you joining it with your parents, with your siblings, with your spouse, with your baby daddy, with your baby mama, with your high school friends? Who are you? So here's the thing. You have to have the same philosophy, whether it is a bank account or an investment account, or even just doing life, even just taking a trip to Europe with somebody. You need to go along life with people you have the same life philosophy with. You have to have a same value system, okay? So there are many joint accounts with parents, with spouses for different things. It is really what the rules are upfront. And if you feel that there's gonna be indiscipline, don't get started. Don't lose a friend or kosana with a relative because you started without thinking, all right? Remember, I keep going back to reflect, think, then act. Reflect, plan, then act, okay? there was an interesting one here. I like this comment, Brian. Umesema all my 7 businesses are just one income stream in 7 different ways. Na imeni affect, time to diversify. Well done, Brian. You got that point, well done. When you make money from your 7 income, 7 biasharas, businesses, take some of that money and put it in the second income stream, diversify into portfolio, diversify into passive income. Okay, you got it, you got it. Thank you, Dolly, I've learned a lot. Advisors on betting. Betting is not an investment. Nobody has, I don't know whether anybody has ever told you betting is an investment. Betting is not an investment. What is an investment? I should invite one of my 14-year-olds who are in this other stock exchange class to come and define what an investment is, all right? But betting is not an investment. Go online, look at the definition of what is an investment. Merry-go-rounds are not an investment. When you say we are 10 people and every month we give 2,000 shillings to this person, the next month we give 2,000 shillings and one day the 2,000 will come back to me. You're just getting your money later. You're just getting your money back later with no interest. A merry-go-round is not an investment. It is a way of pulling funds, or it has worked for people. I'm not saying it has not worked for people, but you need to be clear about what is an investment and what is everything else, okay? Thank you, Wanjala. I have seen that you're interested in the classes. Wonderful talk. Portfolio trading. You can already get started with portfolio, like learning how to work the stock exchange or portfolio income. There's a lot of resources online. Go on YouTube and just Google that. You get so much. At least you will know something from there. Then write me an email, then we see whether we have enough quorum for us to go through. I'm happy to take a good quorum through the curriculum I'm doing with the 14-year-olds. Okay, so I think I have gone through all the questions that are visible to me. Let me just scroll up. Okay, if any other questions? If no other questions, then that is it for me. I hope it was a helpful session. It has opened up your mind to thinking about your life, your journey, and how your money complements your life. Money and life are not separate from each other. You first define what your life would look like, then the money comes and accompanies your journey. All right. I will then hand it over to you, June.
Thank you so much, Rotary and Dolly. I cannot tell you how much value we have gotten from this session. Oh my goodness. I feel like just for me, I hadn't thought of so much that you have just mentioned, and it is such, wow, it is quite a lot, as you said, and I will take that time to reflect. So please let's have the vote of thanks by President Smith, so that we can also let Dolly go back to, she had told me she had another meeting. I'm so sorry. So President
No worries,
Nick.
yes, no worries, thank you.
Good evening once again. On behalf of the RYLA Virtual team and the Rotaract at large, I wish to extend a very big thank you to you, Rotary and Dolly, for dedicating your time to share with us your knowledge and experience on money matters. That was a real talk, honestly, that was real talk. For me, I feel like I'm going back to the drawing board on the financial planning process. Thank you so much, and we look forward to having another talk with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, President Smith. Asante sana. So Rotarians and Rotaractors, we are coming to an end of to day 2. Thank you so much for sticking around. We know we are way past